want to welcome back to the show our new host, Rodger Blaker. And I talked about Rodger is going to be talking to us. He's going to actually take over today, and I'm just going to sit here and take a ride. And you're going to be talking to us about turning unemployment into self-employment. So,
right on.
Thank you for coming back to the show, Rodger Blaker with BlakerBusinessCoaching.com.
You got it right.
Yes.
Yay. Well, welcome. I'm glad I'm back, Kathy. Welcome, and thank you for inviting me back. And we want to today talk about someone, because last week we talked about if people are struggling, there are a lot of 50-somethings and career may have changed, gone away, or whatever, and there could be people that don't feel safe enough or don't really have the energy to want to be an entrepreneur. But let's talk about entrepreneurs, somebody that really has a heart for that or thinks they do and want to explore it. So I want to cover a few points around that. So this is going to be in regard to people that are seriously thinking about it, exploring it, or whatever.
But there are 48%. I saw a poll that like 42% would rather not do it, but
there's still a lot of people that would.
Yes.
So we want to cover those.
But even so, I think maybe they have misconceptions, and maybe it'll help those people decide that maybe this is worth a look.
Exactly, and what I'm going to cover here may spark someone that says, well, I don't know, but I want to think about it now. So that's what we want to cover.
Yeah.
And then next week come back and we'll kick into where maybe somebody is now doing that and they're struggling. So this week, though, we'll talk about exploring starting a business.
Maybe we can get them to contact you, and we can have them
webcam
in on the show.
Could be. Have questions. One of the first things that I want to talk about is we have side music going on here, huh? Entertainment hour.
Yeah, which reminds me.
I'll just that's the background music for my presentation here.
I don't think anybody can hear it. You know, when I watch the tape later, they don't.
Okay. The first thing that I want to invite people to really explore, if you're thinking about it serious, or if you're not, just listen to it a little bit, and you may decide what means something to you about this. And the first thing that I would recommend anyone doing, if they're exploring it, want to look at working for themselves, is to find their passion. That's a very easy statement to say. It's like, well, what do I do? How do I find that? And that's an easy thing to say and not necessarily something that's simple to do.
No.
It takes some work. So I'm going to give you a couple of hints of things you can look at that might help you, because I'm definitely a believer. I know this is the case for me. Successful people have a purpose. They're very clear about their purpose. They're very clear about their passions, and it comes from different forms, different ways. Some people, you hear about a 6-year-old wants to be a surgeon and knows he or she does when they grow up. That's great. Most of us don't fit in that category. So one of the things to look at is what really energizes you, what things interest you, and one way you can explore this is look back at your childhood, interesting enough. Think of things that you've done from very early age on that you really were completely engaged in, that you felt you achieved something, that's something that you really wanted to just be engaged in all the time. And it could have been play, like building models. I mean, you say, well, how would I use that today? It's not so much about the actual activity, it's what you were doing that mattered to you in that process. So finding your passion, finding your purpose, discovering that is really key, essential, because a lot of people that I meet constantly have joined and gotten involved in MLM, for example. And I'm not talking something negative about MLMs.
That's an option for self-employment.
Right, but what they go into it is somebody's approached them that you can make all this money, you can have this lifestyle, all those kinds of things. That's results. That is not a motivator. Money, believe it or not, folks, is not a motivator. It doesn't touch your passion. There are a few people wired, like a Donald Trump. They're going to make money because they were created to, but that's very rare. If you don't have a passion about it, you're not going to be successful. And say you are. If you work your rear off and you end up accumulating all this stuff, those people are usually not happy because it hasn't fulfilled their purpose. So it's very important. Some ways to help you identify what you're gifted at, things that really you are accomplished at, is ask friends about what gifts they see in you. What things do they see about you, what they've experienced with you that can tell you things about yourself. I've been surprised oftentimes of having people do that, and they really had never thought about that before, and they discovered a lot of things about themselves. So don't minimize the fact that people that care about you, that have known you for a while, can provide you a lot of input about who you are and what matters to you. One of the things I did, and I think many people have heard about the book called what the Golden Parachute book.
Yeah.
Um,
Because you
I actually took
worked
that
for
book.
corporate for years.
Yeah, I worked for corporate America for over 25. But when I left, somebody recommended that book to me, and I took it off a shelf and actually worked the detail out in that book. And it really made it very clear to me that my purpose was to be involved in people in some way, engaged with them in life changes, profession changes, something had impact with people personally. There was no doubt about it. Now, I didn't know about coaching. I actually hired a coach, and that's when I discovered coaching, and that's a whole other story to go down. But get that book. But if you do, take time to really work through the detail in there, because they've got these charts and graphs that you go through, and if you work it, you will learn a lot about yourself. So those are some keys about how to help you define your purpose, and what you're gifted at or what your passion is. Sometimes just experimenting. If you're not really clear, you might try to do something that's entrepreneurial, but and you may learn something by taking an action even if you're not sure. And like I said last week, one thing, no matter what, is get up out of a chair and start taking action.
Yeah,
because sitting and thinking about, dreaming about it is not going to make things change. So that's number one. Oh, and I have a statement or a quote that I like, and I found it a long time ago. Let's see if I can recall it. Is don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive, and go do that, because what the world needs is for people to come alive.
Oh, that's pretty deep.
And the only way to do that is really find your purpose. If you hear about people that can't wait to get up.
Say it again.
Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive, and go do that, because what the world needs is for people to come alive. So it's just a real good summary of what I'm talking about.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I mean that is a good thing, because I know that when I looked at it and changing careers the way I did, and I've changed 3 or 4 times, it took me a year. And it focusing in. So someone should not be afraid just because they don't exactly know. It'll come to you as long as you're acting and moving in a way.
Right.
And
Right. Investigate. Ask. Yeah. Meet people. All the things that help you understand better who you are.
Very important. If you're unemployed, try something. We had a lady here that was in theater, and she's in her 50s, and she's gotten a bunch of roles and things this late in life. But she'd always wanted to do it, and she's passionate and very successful at it. Well, if you're unemployed, there's extra work all over town.
Right. That's 2 different things to think about too, because somebody can have that as really a very active hobby, that they may end up having a career that is maybe not their purpose necessarily, but it provides an income, and something like that, they may not make any kind of real income from it, not something that really give them a lifestyle. But if it's something they love to do, then it could be a hobby. The work we do may not be that fulfilling, but hey, we got this other thing that we're really passionate about. So there's multiple ways. The whole thing is, if we really love what we're doing, we'll find a way to make a living at it, one way or the other. Okay. The next thing, now what's this have to do with looking at exploring a business, is budgets. You hear about it all the time. Work a budget, have a budget. I can guarantee, if I ask people in this room how many people actually have a budget and look at their budget every day or once a week, and probably don't have a whole lot of hands go up. If you're in a career and you're looking to change, maybe go on your own, or you're actually unemployed, looking at exploring starting a business, regardless of what it is, work a budget up, and I'm going to give you some details of what that means and why it's important. If you don't know exactly where your money's going, and this is for everybody. If you're happy in your career and you love it and you don't do a budget, you don't know where your money's being spent. And if we look at our economy, have we had a wake-up call about what that can cost you? We're in the throes of this and going to be for a while. And if you sit down and you can there's free software out there. I actually have a spreadsheet. I just do a manual spreadsheet. I've done this for years. I have an online banking action that I can do with my bank account, but I balance my bank account to my spreadsheet every single day. It takes me 5 minutes. But here's the deal. if you really budget yourself and learn where your money's going, you're going to find places where you're wasting money. And I would say a goal to have is to create a budget, identify exactly where it's going with an objective and goal to reduce that expense by 5% in a month. Once you do that 5%, you can turn around and do another 5%. I guarantee you can find at least 10%, maybe 20% if you really take a look at where you're spending your money and use some discipline about how you're spending it, setting your priorities. So